The debate on official language, national language, regional identities, and national identity is a recurring conflict. That is why it becomes important to understand the history of official languages of India and how did we get here where we are today. This is the physical map of the Indian subcontinent. This is the core of Indian civilization. And this is the peripheral outline of India's cultural influence. The Himalayas and the Indian Ocean acts as natural borders. This line breaks the Indo-Aryan belt of the north with the Dravidian belt of the south, and this line denotes the tribal belt where Austroasiatic languages like Munda and Dravidian languages like Gondi are spoken. The subcontinent is further divided into geographical barriers. Barriers like mountains, plateaus, rivers, valleys, and larger landmass. Like the northern plains, Ganga Yamuna Doab, Malwa Plateau, Deccan Plateau, Western Ghats, and Eastern Ghats. The northern plains, being a continuous landmass, has been the core of large empires like the Mauryans, Kushans, Gupta, Delhi Sultanate, and Mughal Empire. It was termed Aryavarta in ancient times and Hindustan in medieval and early modern times. Similarly, the Deccan Plateau was a separate landmass that was the core of its local empires like the Satavahanas, Vakatakas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Bahamani, and other Deccan sultanates, and then the Maratha Empire. Far south had their own geographical identities like the Cheras, Cholas, Pandyas, Pallavas, Vijayanagar, and so on. This is why languages and cultural identities developed separately in these regions. Now, if you consider all these factors, you will get a rough idea of modern Indian states, regions, and languages. Now, let's understand the official languages of Indian regions in history. While Vedic Sanskrit was the language of rituals, the commoners spoke in various dialects of Prakrits. This first became the main language of communication during the Mauryan Empire. We see that the Ashokan edicts of different regions have inscriptions in different Prakrits. Magadhi Prakrit in the east, Shauraseni Prakrit in the north and west, Maharashtri Prakrit in central India and the Deccan, and Gandhari Prakrit, Aramaic, and ancient Greek in the multicultural Gandhara region. Note, while the Mauryans from Magadha were ruling the Indian subcontinent, local languages were used instead of imposing the imperial tongue. Meanwhile, the Tamil kingdoms have their Tamil language in the south. By the time of the Indo-Scythians, Gupta, and Vakataka empires, we see a revival of Sanskrit as official language of the royal court along with various Prakrits. Meanwhile, in the south, various languages developed like the Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Tulu, Kodagu, and so on, which becomes co-official along with Sanskrit due to the Brahmin bureaucracy and influence of Hinduism. By the medieval period, these Prakrits evolve into other languages like the Maharashtri Prakrit becomes Old Marathi and Konkani. The Magadhi Prakrit becomes Bhojpuri, Maithili, Magahi, Bengali, Nepali, and so on. And the Shauraseni Prakrit becomes Punjabi, Marwadi, and other languages like Old Hindi called Hindavi. Invaders still now use Sanskrit as the official language, but that changes during the rule of Delhi Sultanate. Now the Persian language replaces Sanskrit as the official language of the royal court and begins influencing other languages like Punjabi and Hindavi. Hindavi's dialect around Delhi, known as Dehlavi, gets influenced by Persian and Turkic. When Muhammad bin Tughlaq conquers Yadava of Devagiri, he turns their city into his new capital of Daulatabad. This creates a mass movement from Delhi to Deccan. While this experiment fails, it leads to many Hindavi-speaking people migrating to Deccan region like Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Telangana. In time, this dialect of Hindavi is known as Dakkani. Delhi Sultanate is replaced by the Mughal Empire and Hindavi evolves into Hindustani, which is yet not as standardized as Hindi or Urdu. With Aurangzeb's conquest, Mir Kamaruddin, the first Nizam, migrates to Deccan with many Hindustani speaking nobility who would later give rise to Hyderabadi Urdu and other South Indian dialects. When the British take over, they switch Persian with English as the official language and begins to standardize Indian languages. It is interesting to note that from post-Mauryan period to early modern times, the official language was different from vernacular languages. Sanskrit, Persian, and English were the official languages of the educated elites, while commoners just spoke in their mother tongue. Only those whose job made them travel to different parts of the country learnt more languages. These were traders, merchants, artisans, and soldiers. Thanks to the printing press, one dialect of every language becomes the standardized language for official purpose. The British use Hindustani as co-official language in the north but continues with local languages in the south. Multilingual provinces like Bombay, Bengal, and Madras have multiple official languages, all that is spoken in their regions. Around this period, due to mass media, people speaking the same language get closer, forming a nation. Nations are created based on linguistic identities, like Bavaria, Saxony, Prussia, and other German kingdoms become one nation, Germany. While multilingual empires like Austria Hungary break up into Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, and others. Language becomes the core identity for nationhood, and hence the idea of national language emerges. Note, many countries never felt the need to have a language for their national identities, and even today they do not have a national language. For the UK, English is not as important for national identity as is the monarchy, and for multilinguistic Switzerland and Belgium, all of their languages are equally official. Meanwhile, India, united for independence against the British, develops a pan Indian national identity which does not require one language for now. During independence, this fad of national language comes to India as well. But there is no one language that unites everyone. While Hindi has penetrated areas of Deccan, it is still a foreign language for rural Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Telugu speaking regions, and it is completely alien for regions like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and the Northeast. It is concluded that Hindi and English would be co-official language at center, and each state can choose their official language, many of which becomes official in the 8th schedule of the constitution. Post-independence, linguistic identities become important as it did for the rest of the world before world wars. States united and divided on linguistic lines, creating Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and so on. There are still states which are not based on a language. Jammu and Kashmir speak Dogra, Kashmiri, and other languages, but has had Urdu as official. And while there are so many languages in Arunachal Pradesh, English is the only official language because the state lacks a local language that can act as a bridge for everyone in the state. National integration is a continuous process, and while Hindi has penetrated further due to Hindi films and central government's policies, it will only be accepted if it is seen as beneficial. As other linguistic identities being strong like always, it becomes a subject of friction if imposed without building consensus. Therefore, there is no national language of India for a logical reason, and there can't be a national language which is artificially imposed. And there is no need for having a national language, as India is not a nation based on linguistic identity like France, Germany, or Japan are. The sooner linguistic nationalists in India learn this, the better it will be. While language and migration are recurring conflicts in many states, it deserves a separate video to get into the crux of the situation. So subscribe and stay tuned to Prav now.